Now, let's talk about buck breaking. Buck breaking is a fine white tradition going back hundreds of years now, where you round up your biggest bucks and you sit them out in front of the other negros and you break them. You break them any way you can, and there ain't no shame in breaking a buck, because it ain't gay if they're the bottom. You understand? So Tariq Nasheed, in his infinite wisdom, put out this fucking video, this 2-hour-long documentary about how slavery was actually about sexually raping black men and how we have to rape them back now. Now, I realize this is a movie, and I can't play a movie on YouTube without copyright issues. So we'll be watching this in fair use buck vision to make sure that we 100% comply with fair use law. And I have some timestamps. I tried to get through I tried to get through as much as I could. I've watched this movie twice now, but I was still listening to evidence.zip at some point, and I was like, okay, I have to hand this off to someone like, Massa, I can't do it anymore. I can't break any more bucks. And they're like, no, chat's like, nah, boy, you got to break all of them bucks. And I was like, no, let someone else do it. So I handed it off to someone, and I said, okay, look, can you please timestamp this for me, the second half of buck breaking? I can't watch anymore. I've got other shit to do. So I'll let you know when I'm in the realm of other timestamps, when I've gone out of my own notes. I think this movie's very funny. The funny bits are in the front, so we'll watch the first 5 minutes or so with little pause. King Flex, Tariq Nasheed himself fucking produced this, so this is a true and honest Kang vision. King Flex work. Let me know if it's too quiet or too loud.
When we talk about buck breaking, we have to understand that buck breaking is a show of power. It's a show of dominance. So we can't talk about buck breaking without talking about power.
The dominant society
too quiet?
spend a lot of money and resources pushing different types of agendas to black society because
they
try to confuse us sexually, and if they can confuse you sexually, as our brother Neely Fuller said, they can confuse you in any other type of way.
When we look at the domination of black people by the dominant society, what we are in essence seeing is that this society wants to ensure that we are not able to actually mete out that thing that makes humans exist.
That thing said, by the way, all Black Lives Matter, and that's a huge thing, is that this movie is simultaneously variantly anti-gay, homophobic, and also very anti saying that black people are anti-gay. It's a weird thing.
Exist, and that is creating families and procreating.
See, psychologically, when we're
that's the other thing is white people are destroying the black family.
Talking about the sexualizing of our people, primarily from the dominant society of the system of white supremacy, it had to be established in a very impinging way from the mental state, meaning everything that was done had to have a sexual undertone. Most of the time, it was mostly direct. So you had to enforce a level of dominance sexually in order to destroy the mind and the spirit simultaneously. So it was always, everything that I do, I'm going to reinforce it sexually. Everything that I say, I'm going to reinforce it sexually. Everything that I am going to manipulate and use on you has to be done sexually in order for you to understand that you are controlled. You are my...
So he's saying that back in the plantation days, they had to buck break in order to make sure black people were compliant. And now they juxtapose it with this black teenager writhing around on the ground and 3 police officers trying to detain him as being modern day buck breaking, gone sexual.
Slave, you are beneath me in every single way, shape, and form.
This whole notion that masculinity is somehow toxic and detrimental to society is nothing but an attempt to emasculate black malehood.
When you take away someone's right to deny your sex acts that go beyond norm, then you violated the human being space of that person.
it's clearly an agenda. If you have two eyes in your head and you're able to see, you can see that it's an agenda, and it's.
So that title card, we can teach black history and LGBTQ history at the same time. In fact, we should. They're saying that is a active agenda by a globalist conspiracy to break this the black identity, which is the entire thing tiptoes this realization, and they never do. They just continue to hate white people the entire time.
An agenda to decrease our population.
See, LGBTQ is like a political party, like the Democrats or the Republicans. So if you're black, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a Democrat. You could be an independent or a Republican.
It's always been about destroying the black family. The family's the foundation of a people. You can't mistreat people if they're unified. You need division. You need all sorts of pathological behavior and conduct.
See, they're first order beings on this planet. People like us, we're first orders. Why? Because we don't need anybody else's energies except our own.
This guy is whiter than me. I will, for the moment, I will put this back into color so that you can see how fucking white this man is. He is the pastiest motherfucker on the planet. I don't know why he's in this documentary. I don't know what the fuck his 53andMe said, but that is not a white man. I don't give a fuck what you say.
But second order entities need to feed on you because they don't have a direct connection to the One Most High.
The heterosexual black male is last on the pecking order here in America. If you're just a heterosexual black man, how are you gonna beat the case? Because when you show up to court, when you show up to the job interview, when you show up to wherever, you coming in here as a heterosexual black man, you have no power.
When Mark Twain confessed that we white people ground the manhood out of the...
I forgot how great that picture was. That's literally just a black man screaming and being ground into burger.
Negro. Why ground the manhood out of the Negro? Because it's black masculinity that most exposes the fraud of white masculinity.
We as the progenitors of culture, the ones who are the fathers and mothers of civilizations, who taught all people, who people look to
it's an ugly
for
woman.
Social cues, whether they want to realize it or not. I think they feel if they can get us to adapt to it, they can get everybody to adapt to it.
If anybody should have a problem with European males,
did you hear that, by the way? That the black people invented culture. Nobody else had any culture before black people. And that's not like a passing statement. They get into that.
It should be the European female. Because everything the European male has ever learned to do to us, he first practiced on his own woman.
We need resources in education, we need resources in labor, we need resources in politics, we need resources in medical, we need resources in so many things, but they ignore that and they put millions and even billions of dollars to tell us that you need to really embrace your LBGT side. So these people have an agenda and it's up to us to understand what the agenda is.
So there we are. We're now at the title card, Buck Breaking, 4.5 minutes in. We've been faced with a lot. LGBTQ is a conspiracy against blackdom, which I think we all kind of felt like that was going to come. When they started adding, like, everyone says as a joke, like they're adding black to the gay flag, as if being black is inherently being gay. And then they take that and they're like, why are they implying that black people are all gay? Like, what the fuck? And Tariq Nasheed and the rest of the people in this movie are so close. They are one little realization away from completely switching gears. But throughout the entire thing, it's just like, yeah, Whitey's the fucking devil. They blame feminism. They blame... oh god, fuck it, I'll just play through. I'm gonna be here forever if I try to summarize this shit. It never stops, by the way. There's no breaks. It's just like dramatic music cutting between people saying crazy shit for 2 hours straight. So definitely watch it if you're at all curious. 8. I'm gonna have to find some way to get comfy so I can see my notes. 8:39.
It's a critical element of white male masculinity. So the very concept of white masculinity is predicated upon the ability to sodomize, to have.
A human being is only as great or as worse as his or her environment. In an ice age, where you are dealing with these temperatures, your babies are freezing in your arms to death. No mercy. And so they have this mentality of just a viciousness because they are reflecting their environment. And so when the ice ages began to melt, give or take about maybe 5,000, 7,000 years ago, they came back across the mountains. And when they came back across the mountains, they brought that mentality with them. When you're in the ice, you're not really thinking about healthy relationships. And quite frankly, when the urge hits you, any hole will do.
Heterosexual sex for the white man, the only purpose of that is procreation. In fact, sex with a woman was a necessary evil to white folks. For pleasure, homosexual sex is preferred.
Okay, so here we have talking point number one. They evolved from Neanderthals and shit, and they only fuck each other because procreation is a strictly, like 1984, you only do it to procreate type thing, right? All whiteness is about having sex with other men. So black people have to rise above that.
Extremely small penises. I think that we have to recognize that in some ways they are trying to... When we see all of the statues of naked Greeks and Romans with their extremely small penises, I think that we have to recognize that in some ways they are trying to emulate the African comfort with our bodies, but because this is not something that is native to their cultural norm, it begins to be misshapen.
What man from what ethnic group can stand up against a black man toe to toe in manhood? Nobody. Especially the European, who is at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to genetic stability.
So I don't know. I think Asians have smaller penises. I think Indians have the smallest penis, actually. But it's Huare who has the smallest penis and is inherently jealous of black people. By the way, it took, on my note, it took 10 minutes and 40 seconds to get to my dick.
Of buck breaking, the castration of black males and turning them into eunuchs began to happen on a regular basis.
They said the eunuchs would be sometimes so close to the king that they would get so much information. So they'd castrate them so that they couldn't start their own dynasties. Okay, they couldn't go out and now impregnate somebody with this knowledge, this king knowledge.
They would.
That's one of the best lines in the entire movie. This guy is just like a rapper or something. Oh my god. He looks in that pose, he looks like, I can't say it. That would be saying that he looks less than human. I can't say it. I'll be banned from everything. But he doesn't, okay. You know what I mean, though. Okay, what was I saying? King shit. So you impregnate a woman as a black man. You are passing on genetic king knowledge, genetic king shit. Only the black men have king knowledge. Nobody else. Which is why black people historically have always been in positions of power.
Square. When the Pope opens the shades to his window, he looks out at the structure that is often called the obelisk today. We should know that the obelisk is the symbol of the Tsar's erect penis. So that while they're
okay, that whole point, I just want to show you that bit, but his
removing penises, the Pope looks out at a large black penis every morning when he opens his shades. The irony cannot be lost.
Their point was that the Catholic Church is like a pedophile gay society, so they literally have erected a giant black cock in the Vatican City for the Pope to admire every day.
And there's a book about his diaries and his life where he sent a letter to another slave owner, Thomas Withers, and they were having a gay relationship with each other. And Hammond was a known pedophile at the time. He molested some of his own nieces. So we know some of the things that he was doing to the black people, especially the black men on those plantations.
It was continually a process of making sure that there was no energy to do anything against me. You're not going to want to fight me. Why? Because I just destroyed.
I think I got the wrong timestamp. I want to say this guy. No, that's not the timestamp. Basically, but what's weird about that is that he's saying like this guy raped his nieces and then also black men. That is a weird taste. Like, okay, there are pedophiles who want to molest children, and then there's also like gay rapists who want to fuck black men, like Jeffrey Dahmer. But there's not really like an intersection between pedophile interested in little girls and pedophile or Jeffrey Dahmer types who want to like rape black men. That's a very unique type of person, which I don't think actually exists.
She kicks him out of the bed, and as he attempts to get back in
this story
law. That was not something law. African man. Law. There's one very familiar story of an enslaved African woman who says that she is married to an enslaved African man. And as she is married to him, she tells the story of him climbing in her bed. And she's prepared for him. She kicks him out of the bed. And as he attempts to get back in the bed, she grabs the poker and slams it into his head. Often that story of this man whose name is Rufus is told as if he is a sexual exploiter, as if he's a rapist. But we need to think more deeply about how the system controlled black sexuality, how it undermined black womanhood, and even really undermined black manhood. He did not marry her out of choice. This was part of the crude slave breeding system. He was being forced to engage in relationships with this woman.
That's weird. That whole story about how actually this guy is not a rapist. He's just a breeding black bull at the cost of the white man.
They had to wear dresses. They would put everybody in dress. Recognized the black boys and girls were all treated interchangeably. And a lot of the black males, when they were children, they said that they had to wear dresses. They would put everybody in dresses. And that was a way to degender and to dehumanize a group of people. If you don't look at them as a gender or what their gender is, and you just make them interchangeable, you can dehumanize them to a certain degree. And that was a very common thing during slavery, the degendering of black people.
But what's weird about that is I just feel like, you know, if you're farming and you have slaves, you're using them as like livestock, right? So you're just trying to cut costs, but you need them to have clothes. So it's like if you have hand-me-downs from other kids or from your own kids, it's like, okay, who cares if this black boy is wearing, you know, my oldest daughter's old dress? As long as he has something to wear to be modest. I feel like they're reading a little bit more deeply into this than they should. It's just an article of clothing. It's not like they
And he was a black man. Peter Sawali was another black man who was buck-broken during the antebellum slavery time period. He was up in New York, and he was a black man who would cross-dress, put on women's clothing, women's wigs, and he would prostitute himself, and he would also get white males and take them in alleys and finesse them and pickpocket them. And he went to trial out there. There was another infamous case with him. A lot of his victims didn't want to come forward because they were embarrassed to find out that the person who finessed them and robbed them was a black man pretending to be a woman. The media at the time gave him the nickname Beefsteak Pete because he had male genitalia and he was pretending to be a woman.
The whitenized version of
the black people have had a drag transgender type thing for a long time, like a long fucking time. This weird thing about how Beefsteak Pete is like the byproduct of like white rape is ridiculous. Because the whole jailhouse mentality that they're blaming on white people is uniquely black. I think white people look at gay relations as being gay, and only bottoms are gay is like a black thing, which is why you've had people like that because they take the role as like the bottom to take like the blame of being gay in like the black society. Beefsteak Pete, that is a funny story though, because you have this black guy who's out there like seducing like white men, and then he's stealing their shit, and they can't report him because they're so embarrassed that they got trapped by this beefsteak motherfucker. They can't even like put charges on him. That's pretty great. Okay.
Christianity that they had been taught, and it was
pretending to be a woman.
The whitenized version of Christianity that they had been taught, and incidentally, religion was used as a process of buck breaking because it was used to basically make us more docile and more submissive. They would basically cherry pick scriptures and feed them to you. They would create a slave Bible that took out any references to justice and to freedom. And they would have these preachers go and preach messages about slaves being obedient to your masters, obeying masters. That's how Nat Turner started out.
If you go to the Bible Museum,
I think actually that that is true. I've also heard that they gave out like different Bibles to slaves. I'm not sure why I included that. I guess I just liked. I thought that was interesting.
As white male slave masters, and they were jailed.
Two wings on the same bird.
At some point, you had just as many white female slave masters as white male slave masters, and they were just as brutal as them. You know, some of the males on the plantations, they were raped by white female masters. And I know some people might think that that's odd to hear that a man got raped. But, you know, it was unconsensual sex, so it was rape. And so that's a part of buck breaking as well.
Right now we are...
So black men never wanted to have sex with white women because white women are gross. Only black women have true natural Kang Quang beauty and vitality. So even the white slave masters forced black men to pleasure them, a sick and cruel thing to do.
Slave owner out of the city because of the cruelty to the enslaved black people. But this mansion, people still say this is one of the most haunted houses in New Orleans, and many people for years did not want to own this mansion.
Feminism wouldn't exist were it not for black men. Okay, Frederick Douglass, Martin Delany, it was black men who were angry that their mothers were raped by the master, beat by the master, separated from their kids. It was black men who were demanding fair treatment for women. And they gave power to those old white lesbians and the horses and buggies and so forth, because the raping continues in the new plantations. Child and Family Services, public schools, the weaponized, depraved black church. Yeah, I said it just like that. And prisons, the raping of...
I like that because they had to find stock footage of like prison rape, and all they could find is this black guy about to rape like this white boy twink. They couldn't even find the stock footage to put this in, and they didn't. I guess they didn't want to reenact it themselves. They couldn't like hey, they went to their friends like, hey, do you want to be the rape victim in this skit that we're gonna do for our documentary? And they're like, no, we don't. So they just went with it.
Black men continues, or for that matter, the music business or the military. I mean, most people aren't aware Jeffrey Dahmer was raping black men long before he got an honorable discharge, raping black men in the U.S. military.
This is the reason why you could draw a straight line from the image of the...
This is great. This is one of the funniest fucking things, because it's funny to me because it kind of sounds... This is the most believable conspiracy that he brings up.
Coming from the antebellum propaganda directly to images that you see on television today, that you can draw...
Not this part. Get out of my way, thought. Where's the... Oh, is that coming up? Yes, it is. Sorry. Never mind. Ignore that. I didn't say that was true. It's another thing that's coming up. It's 2 timestamps down. Okay. Sorry, I'm in the area where I had to get help.
Also, symbolic castrations. There were all... As lynchings and castrations became commonplace, there were also symbolic castrations of black people as well, particularly when it came to cutting and controlling black hair.
Well, from our very first contact with European and Arab slave catchers and masters, they would see our most ornate hairstyles, and one of the first things that they did to their new human cargo was to shave their hair, so disconnecting them from African culture and the adornment.
The hair is the symbol of your essence. It is your essence that frightens them. That wearing that hair a certain way says that you are aware of your essence. You are aware of your strength. You are aware of your beingness. And he has done everything in his power to destroy your consciousness of yourself.
Okay, he goes on. He goes on for 30 seconds straight about how they took our hair, and hair is spiritual power and essence. This motherfucker is bald as shit. You could fucking shine that scalp to a polish, and he's talking about the majesty of black hair. Like, motherfucker, where's your hair at? Game represent game, motherfucker. Where's your hair?
Consciousness of yourself.
Okay.
Slavery is not so much physical as it is mental, you know? So by telling us that having locks or having our hair in an afro or in its natural state is unprofessional, this is now a mental slavery that is taking place.
There have been so many laws in the United States that actually regulate black women's hair and appearance. So even like the Tignon laws in Louisiana, where it was actually illegal for black women to show their hair in public. Some say because the hair was seen as so ugly and unattractive that it needed to be covered up, but most say it was a way to prevent white men from being attracted to the beauty of black women. But considering that black women had to wear head wraps, and we could create the most Erykah Badu style, that it was still attracting white men's attention, and white women could not mimic that head wrap style. And so that it actually became a threat because the white men were more interested in the black women in Louisiana than the white women.
I only know of one person attracted to black women, and that is Marvin, and he's fucking weird. I think he might even be Jewish, and he's the man in the pickle suit from the Chris Chan trolling days. He likes the darkies. And I legitimately cannot name another person who is attracted to black women. So this is Cope Seethe and Weave, I guess.
Here in Louisiana, during slavery, on plantations just like this, you know, the French was dominating this area. And whenever there were black people who ran away from the
I am Israel, Nick Coleman. Oh, two more people. Okay. You fuckers. I got my eye on you now.
They would get branded. And the brand would be a logo of the French heraldry. It's the fleur de lis. And they would get branded on their shoulder. Or
this is the funniest shit.
On their cheek with this fleur de lis logo.
This is true. This is the truth. That's right.
What's interesting about this logo, now today, this same logo is the logo for the New Orleans Saints football team. So a football team dominated by black people playing today are walking around with logos of runaway slaves.
And it's so ironic that so much of the brutality meted out.
Sorry, I really thought that was funny, and I was like, yeah, that's about right. I mean, fuck that.
The more nasty, the more disgusting, the more immoral you can get, the more enticing and attractive it is. They even choke themselves while they're masturbating, while they're being, involving themselves in sex, because they believe that increases the strength of the orgasm. So that symbolically is something that they were looking at when they were lynching black men. They would lynch us because that choking is something so they could see his power leaving his body, but they would get somewhat of this erotic type of orgasmic feeling about it.
When we talk about
So according to him, lynching was the ultimate coom. You don't understand true cooming until you're lynching black men.
The white LGBT community trying to make comparisons to their struggle and black struggle. The white LGBT community, they've never had a comparative struggle. In fact, their whiteness has always saved them, whereas the black LGBT people, they've always been punished. So there has never been a comparative struggle.
as a LGBT.
Oh, sorry. I was at the wrong timestamp. This is fun. This next bit.
Had harassed Hitler and all his crew. Yeah, there's a documentary or a book called Pink Swastika. Check it out. It's all about pederasty and the whole Hitler Youth and all of that. That's where they were getting them from and all of that. And all Ava Braun and all of those were just beards.
Robert Baden-Powell, who was an officer with the British.
I just really love that here. This is a professional documentary. It's got money behind it. And it's like there was this book that talked about the thing that I'm talking about now. Go check it out. Like, motherfucker, I'm watching a documentary. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about this very serious accusation that supports your point? Why do I have to go read this fucking book?
Boy Scouts. And the Boy Scouts were put together to be a white supremacist nationalist organization to teach white boys about the importance of white nationalism. In fact, the Boy Scouts influenced Hitler's youth.
So if you're controlling the media and you're displaying black males in an effeminate manner, it's still showing the dominance and the power of European men. Think about this. I can make him put on a dress. And that's what they do. Did you notice in Hollywood, you know, it seems like you can't get to the next level unless you put on a dress.
There was a scene where I read.
Here, I'll just show you this.
I was worried about coming. I was like, yeah, well, counting on me.
Struggle of.
Oh, that guy. I like this part, but it's not succinct. He basically says like, there was a phase where they were like Kanye West and people were putting on dresses in their stage performances, and they tried to get him to wear a dress, and he's like, "Go fuck yourself!" And all y'all are fucking gay, and it stopped the trend apparently when he did that, which is pretty funny.
Say on one hand, they stand on a soapbox and say black men are missing in the lives of their children, and they're missing in the home. And the reason we have so much crime among black men is because of the absence of black male role models. But then on the other hand, when black men stand up as men, then they say that we're toxic and we're detrimental to society. You can't have it both ways.
Okay, so point A, levied against them. Black fatherlessness is like unbelievable. I want to say, like, in recent numbers, the number of black children who grow up not knowing their father is like 80%. It's like 50% don't even know who the father fucking is. And then like another 30% know, but they have no participation in their life. So it's like a completely and totally destroyed family structure in the black community. So that's the point. That's what he says. But then he says that counterpoint, when thugs get around, and this is the stock photo that they chose. This is a black guy wearing a gas mask with like a assault rifle, and the other guy has an assault rifle and then like a bandana, and that guy has a baseball bat and a pistol. He's the least well equipped. He must not be like a level 3 thug yet. He's like a level 2, maybe a level 1 even. Brought his own baseball bat. But it's like, this is not like masculinity is not like being a drug pusher or like a gangbanger, you know. But I kind of understand vaguely what he says. I really think that a lot of the reason why gangs are so predominant with like black people specifically is that when you grow up without a father figure, you naturally yearn for like a kind of fraternity, right? Like a club. So they get scooped up by like older guys who are like, hey, you want to help us mule some fucking drugs? We'll pay you money and you'll get to hang out with us and it'll be cool. And they're like, okay, sure. And that's how they get into a gang. I really think that's true. And if they had fathers who said, don't get into gangs, we'll go fishing instead, they would not join the gangs. That is my hypothesis. So I kind of understand what he's saying, but he's framing it in like a retarded fucking way. Where it's like, we should be allowed to be in drug cartels because that's masculinity. And if you disagree with that, you're a feminist, soy boy, white supremacist.
There has been no one, they want to put a black face to everything. And the reality is, there has been no one who has been more tolerant and supportive of homosexuals than black people.
You hear that? So we heard earlier, I've timestamped this, that gay is a white thing, entirely a white thing. But then here, 49 minutes in, there has been nobody more supportive of black people or of gay people than black people, which is fucking weird. This is talking about the Rainbow Coalition. This part was kind of interesting in that there was like a joinder between like gay rights and black rights, like in the 70s, and it was called like the Rainbow Coalition because purely because of the diversity in skin and race between the two organizations fighting for civil rights at the time. But it became known as the Rainbow Coalition, and then from that, the rainbow flag was derived, where LGBT basically stole the rainbow from Jeebus and God and made it into like a sodomite symbol. And I guess that's kind of the basis of adding black people into the rainbow, is because of the Rainbow Coalition. But black people are not going to buy that shit. They don't want to be like the second stripes on the gay flag. Anyways, I thought that was interesting. I'd never heard that before.
Paris, Rome, London, Liverpool.
Oh, that's funny just because...
Sell a lot of it in Japan, Sydney, Berlin.
Berlin cuts to a picture of the Eiffel Tower. I don't know if you guys have ever toured Europe, but definitely check out the Eiffel Tower in Berlin. It's really a sight.
London. And these guys don't know how to dance. They just jump up and down, you know, with that offbeat stuff. And they are familiar with the current rap genre, so they don't want to change. Now, why are they interested? Because, like everybody in the industrialized world, there is this LGBTQ influence that has attempted to emasculate them. So when they see the hip-hop gangster thug rap video, there is all of this masculine imagery that they identify with. So what black youth set is the image all of the world's youth pick up.
So I thought it was utterly ridiculous that.
So you hear that? Japanese people don't know how to dance. They can't shuck and jive like a black master race can. And all that gay shit is making them seek out masculinity, which I'll grant them that. I'll say it's probably fair that a lot of people like rap music because it's like ultra masculine and everything else is just fucking so gay and nobody cares. Nobody wants to listen to that shit. Michael Bublé sucks dicks, and I would rather listen to like 50 Cent or anybody else than fucking that guy. Or K-pop. Oh my god, I would rather listen to like that mumble rap shit than fucking K-pop. People who listen to K-pop have fucking brain damage and they wear a dress.
Black men may have potentially had the right before them, and they were quoted saying that black men, as vile as they are, they're not worthy of the vote.
White evangelicalism is nothing but white supremacy in drag. White feminism is nothing but white supremacy in heels. And so many of our sisters have joined with white feminists to try to emasculate black men. And so we have to be able to stand up boldly and strongly and say, listen, I'm a man, and I'm going to stand in my maleness and in my manhood, regardless of what society has to say about it.
And we are fighting against oppression, and then here come white women saying, oh, I'm oppressed too. I'm a woman, I'm oppressed. And then they pull black women out of the civil rights movement and turn us against our own men, and we're seeing it happening now. Everybody was protesting Black lives, and then here come white women say, me too.
The racist Caucasians start attacking.
Black Lives Matter. Well, I was raped. Bitch, this ain't about you. This ain't a George Floyd took the knee for our sins, and you're coming out here saying you got fucking diddled at work by your boss. Bitch, I don't give a fuck about that. We out here for George Floyd. Unless your name is George Floyd, unless your skin is black, you can kindly fuck off. Ah, that's great shit. Argue, infight, please. Be less effective at ruining everything.
We really had in the 50s, you know, condoms, abstinence, you know what I mean? Women had over 5 different forms of birth control and 30 different, you know, manifestations, and that didn't even include abortion. So she had complete control of her body and her reproductive system and could actually terminate a pregnancy before, during, or after the sex act. We're still talking about pulling out. You know what I mean? That alone kind of offset things. And then we have to also look at the impact of no-fault divorce. So if just having sex means that she has complete control of the reproductive process, and family court means that whatever the court determines you have to pay, whether you can afford it or not, is imposed upon you by this, this apparatus, this court apparatus. All of those kind of things position black men into a very vulnerable state. And it left black men with really one option, and that was a silent protest. And that silent protest was to step back from formal marriage and begin to actually engage in, non-formal kinds of relationships, because there were very few other avenues.
So his point there is that black men had no choice because of Hawaii and feminisms. They came in here and they said that we're going to make before conception abortion available to women, and we're going to control the family court against men. And therefore, the only option available to you, Blackie, is to actually not have sex at all, ever. Or to stay out of relationships. Like, you can abandon your family, basically. If you have kids, you can just run away from responsibility. And it's okay, because feminisms did it. It's not your fault. That's a bit of a cope there, my friend.
The white supremacist elite are becoming more sophisticated with their buck-breaking techniques.
They've been honing that shit for hundreds of years now. They got a whole buck-breaking apparatus. I forgot what was coming at that point. That's okay. So how do I phrase? I'll let it play a bit. I'll think about how I want to phrase what I'm going to say.
They're now using more propaganda and media for their sinister agendas. And one way they use this propaganda is to normalize pedophilia.
First of all, if you are able to exploit someone's offspring, you are in complete control of those people. Because the one thing that human beings will do worldwide, regardless of where they live, regardless of what country they are in, what municipality they're in, what language they speak, what religion they practice, they will protect their children. So if you are able to exploit children, you have dominance over an entire society.
A lot of white aristocrats would have paintings of them with Moorish children who were indentured and enslaved to them. And they would dress these Moorish children up very elaborately, and they would kind of parade them around, and they would do these very expensive paintings with these black Moorish children. They would almost display them like they were pets. And they kind of do that today. You see a lot of white actors and people in Hollywood parading these little black adopted children around, and they dress them up like pets. Charlize Theron, she kind of does that with her black adopted children who were boys, then she turned into girls, so that's another story. But they would get these more...
Is that in this case, they will attack them if it's European. But what was interesting is that in this...
Actually, it's not.
South African boys.
Island.
Because they know that the European... They will attack them if it's European. But what was interesting is that in this case, Jeff Epstein used to take European girls and bring them to the Caribbean to become part of it. He took them to places that were outside the United States of America, along with the entire crew that was part of that.
We hear a lot less about the fact that he literally had a private island that many people called Pedophile Island. Many people called it Pedophile Island. This was no secret. But the reason why he was able to get away with it is because it was actually in the Caribbean. We've heard about young girls of European descent being taken there and raped, but I truly believe that we're going to hear more about people who lived there who actually were also exploited. See, there's no value for black women and even less value for black girls. So when are we going to hear about the full story of what was happening there?
Jeffrey Epstein was an agent for Mossad. Jeffrey Epstein engaged in what used to be called love traps. His business was love traps. for the Mossad, sexual blackmail. So that's why all of these politicians and European royalty.
No, he's mentioned the politicians
when he got arrested. And that's why, of course, he was suicided. He was killed in prison.
It's all down here.
Died in very peculiar circumstances.
Go back up.
He was being monitored every 45 minutes. He virtually had none of the things that you would need to have in order to commit suicide, yet peculiarly, he was able to commit suicide. I think we should be clear that there are many people who are afraid that he might try to cut a deal.
The minute you walk into Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion, there's this huge painting of President Clinton in the blue Monica Lewinsky dress and
that's
red
pretty weird.
heels,
I didn't even hear
sitting
about
in a
that.
chair, giving you this look as if to say, what's done here stays here.
Even though high-ranking pedophile rings run by the white supremacist elite are being exposed, people should still be aware of pedophile propaganda that's trickling down.
It's so painful. It's you're at the edge of your fucking seat. Like, how do you say it? Say it. How do you not know? And then he just says like the Watt pedophile elite. Like, motherfucker, are you retarded? Come on, you were right there. And it makes me wonder if they secretly know, but they can't say it. But it's like, no, that's too optimistic for these fucking people. They don't know. Jeffrey Epstein's white, I guess. Sure, why not?
Into the lie.
Have trouble reproducing.
So because we have so few black folk in the hood that are men, it's fairly easy to get to
Tariq's wife is Jewish? His wife's mother is Jewish? What? Tariq Nasheed wife. Peanut Nasheed. That's an awful name. Holy fuck. I have found no evidence that Tariq Nasheed's wife is Jewish. I have no reason to believe that he has privileged information here. Let us continue with this podcast. We're watching Buck Breaking. Where the fuck were we? Where's my timestamp? Oh. Here, wait, I skipped the timestamp.
Pedophiles actually prey on the powerless. And in most societies around the world, the most powerless are the Africans. Because of the remnants, because of the reality of the transatlantic enslavement trade, and the continuing systems of white supremacy that are still working and are still alive and well. So that when we see people who are powerless, we're going to see ripe conditions for sexual abuse.
So he's saying that we need to protect black people because they're powerless as opposed to the children.
Have trouble reproducing.
So because we have...
Oh, wait.
So it's not just that we reproduce faster, stronger offspring. They have trouble reproducing.
So because we have so few black folk in the hood that are men, it's fairly easy to get to them and condition them to negativity. See, the thug, typical hood rat thug, is a lesbian in a boy's body. Lesbians and the hood rat are raised like girls.
That's another weird thing. It's like, okay, so being a thug is like being an ultimate expression of masculinity that Whitey has to suppress, but then also being a thug is being a lesbian in a boy's body. So this is like the second time that the film just outright contradicts itself in what it's trying to say, which is a shock to me. I thought this movie would be completely consistent, but I guess not.
So the surplus humans are no longer necessary, and the plan is to get rid of at least 5 billion people.
60% of the groceries you would buy at a grocery store, 60% have been bio-infused with soy isolate. Why? Because they first piloted this in the prisons. infusing prison food with soy because they discovered soy is a great feminizer. Soy, when ingested, becomes estrogenic, the female hormone estrogen. So you eat a lot of soy, males start developing man breasts or man boobs.
Incarceration. You have a lot of brothers, and even
I clipped that out specifically because I knew that you guys would really enjoy that. There's so much about this which is like just is like straight off fucking pole, like crazy shit. And if it was a white person saying it, it would be deemed horrifically racist and homophobic. But because it's Tariq Nasheed, it's only like a little bit homophobic, but it's understandable because of whiteness, you know?
sometimes your cell might be raided, or if you get into it or you get on the wrong side of the guard, you're in lockdown where you can only come out for 1 hour, right? And then you're locked down for 23 hours. Sometimes the entire jail is locked down. So it's a lot of buck breaking happening right in the penal system.
The LGBT history narrative is a way to, again, promote the
Right. I clipped that only so I could show you guys that she says there's buck breaking right there in the penal system. Like, yeah, lady, what do you think it's named after? It's not the rehabilitation system, it's the penal system for a reason.
Saltpeter. Now, saltpeter is actually potassium nitrate. And the brothers in the house, in the big house, brothers in lockup, they call it saltpeter.
The state-by-state legalization of marijuana is one of the greatest contributors to the gender neutering of Black America.
Oh, I think that's it. That's like a wrap. He just says that marijuana makes you gay. I don't know how much you guys buy into that, but I'm not partial to weed. The people that live under me smoke weed every fucking day. So here like multiple times a day. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. I'm sitting here in my fucking bed and I'm watching buck breaking and shit, and I'm having a good time. And I got my door open because it's hot as fuck because we're getting into summer months and shit. And I smell weed. And it's like, I can't have my fucking door open, blowing the fan on at any time. I'll be asleep. It'll be like 2 a.m. and I'll wake up because I'm smelling weed burning. I'm like, come the fuck on. And I guarantee you those people do nothing. Those people live off the fucking social system here. They do absolutely nothing. They spend their government money on fucking weed. They have no job. They're up at all hours of the day. They work, they're smoking weed at 3 a.m. on work days and shit. It's like, there's no way these people fucking work. I just hate it. And I used to be so pro weed. It was such like a Ron Paul, like, we need to legalize weed, man, type guy. And now I'm just like, I can't fucking stand you people. You're so disgusting. You're so fucking lazy. You have no, like, I used to believe in the inherent value of human life, and now I'm just like, I think we could do better without you because you're shit. And I'm beginning to add more and more people to my shit list of just like, yeah, we don't actually need you around. You don't do anything. You don't actually contribute to this big pot that we live in. You're just a fucking drain. I'm getting there, man. Anyways, the remaining 30 minutes of the film is it's them trying to posit like solutions and shit, and it's just like, we need to restore the family, and they don't really say how. And the other weird thing is that I think that a lot of Black people are still Christian. There's a resurgence of like neo-Islam in America, but so it's not like saying we should all convert to Islam. There's like a lot of Islam people who are talking, I guess. There's like one guy who's like legit named Dr. Islam. Dr. Islam might be Islamic. There's a Muhammad. There's all sorts of people who have like Muslim sounding names, but they kind of diss the church and they call the church like weak and pedophilic. But then they also kind of say like we need strong churches. So I think it's just, I really don't know. I don't know what they're actually advocating. They're saying have Black families, and I guess that's a nice thing to say. Like, we need to, but they don't specifically admonish Black men, and they say like Black men ran away from responsibility, and that's why Black children grow up underprivileged because they don't have the innate benefits of experience that come from having a father mentor in your life. And I'm very thankful that despite being a bastard myself, I had my grandfather around. My grandfather was a hard worker. He's a Vietnam vet. He was a hard ass, and he was probably very racist. Maybe that leaned into me a little bit, but all my work ethic, for what it's worth, it came from him. So that saved me, I guess, from being a Australian femboy programmer. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like the message should be do better. You know, we have like this. We have white systemic racism. These people are fucking lunatics. They will fuck you. They will bend you over and fuck you. White people are out to fuck your ass, black man. And if you want to survive, if you want to get through your life unfucked, if you want your buck to remain unbroken, your bucky to remain unpenetrated, you better fucking get your shit together, because they're coming for that ass. Either the easy way or the hard way. So take care, watch your kids, watch your wife, because they raping everyone out here. That should be the message. But for whatever reason, it's just like, yeah, you know, whatever, you know, fuck whitey, fuck feminists, and black families, I guess. It's like, come on, we need some punch. There's shit out there. Whitey's out to get you. It's scary times. So hard times means strong men, right? We gotta, come on, Tariq. You missed it twice. And the movie kind of depresses me just because it's like, there's so much in here, which is like, besides like the crazy like history revisionism and like anti-white, like just like vitriolic hatred of white people. It's like you can take that vitriolic hatred and narrow it just a teensy bit. You're already racist. It's not a huge leap. You can just focus on what you're being racist against. And then you can take all your crazy, you know, conservative views that are anti-mainstream, and there's like a chance. There's like a chance for an equal but separate society where we can just mind each other's business, have state-level governance that reflects our racial compositions better, and we can maybe have something that works out. But instead, it's just like, nah, fuck Whitey. If you don't rape Whitey, Whitey will rape you. It's live or die. It's dog eat dog. You better fucking, you know, you better get racist here, fellow black man. Oh well. That is Breaking Buck by Tariq Nasheed, I guess. I think it has an actual director. Who made this? Actually, pull this back up. Who made this movie? I want the editor. Who's the director? Oh, it is directed by Tariq Nasheed. Everyone clap for Tariq Nasheed. He made this masterpiece, and it's probably the funniest fucking movie made in the last couple years. It's the best movie made since The Joker. Bravo, Tariq. Here, gamers. Now we will talk about evidence. Sides up. This is the true meat of the show. I know that Tariq Nasheed put out this hilarious documentary exposing the. Actually, I can't pass. I forgot about something. I can't pass it up. I have to go back and find it. When I was watching the movie, and they were talking about how every black man was gay anally raped by white slave masters, and we're going back to Buck Vision. While they showed a bunch of art that they had commissioned specifically for this film that that demonstrated the sodomy of the black male. I'm going to show you. We're time for an art critique. Okay, this is the first one they show. This is obviously like a Tumblr artist. I've timestamped all of them that I saw. This is like a Tumblr artist, and this is like two Tumblr boys, and I don't know if they made pants that had like a fly that split open like that in the 1800s, but they all show this where it's like, here we have a buck and he's about to be broken by two white gentlemen in front of the house. And the way that it's drawn and like the Tumblr like blush and shit is just very funny to me. There's another one. There's many more actually. Here we have this one. Here's a young buck. This one seems to be drawn by the same artist from the Nintendo Zelda CD-ROM game thing, the Mario Hotel artist. That's that kind of art style. Now, this one, they make sure to let you know that they broke the bucks in full view of the family. So this buck is in a barn or something, and the guy, he's just so evil and smug, smoking on his corncob pipe as he's about to break this buck. There's more. This one's like the worst of all. Like in terms of like art quality. There's another one that's pretty fucking bad. But they even have like evil twirly mustaches. And this is like a buck breaking competition. Steve, Earl, and Chuck, Sneed, Chuck, and I guess Earl, that'll be our third one, have 4 bucks between the 3 of them. Maybe we'll call the third one Zed, like after Pulp Fiction. Zed's back there. Zed's the one and with the whip who's just looking. No, Zed's the one on the right. Chuck has the whip. Sneed's up front, and Zed's on the right with the who's just watching. And they're gonna break all the bucks. And I like how he's got like a perfect heart-shaped booty. That's very that's very romantic. Okay, this is fucking art. Okay, here we have a very weird shaded style for this guy, and I was so inspired actually by this one in particular that I posted on my Twitter account. I'll go ahead and download it. But there's a very famous meme from about a very old obscure game called The Mystery of the Druids that has a guy screaming. So I legit fucking took this image, I 4x'd it on like a waifu 2x program, and then I spent all day, or not all day, but a little while, a good amount of effort putting this into true to life meme format. I even found a good font for it and everything. The breaking of the bucks, starring this young buck right here from the buck breaking documentary. Oops, don't want to get rid of buck vision. We're still in buck vision. All right, let us continue. Oh, I guess you know what? I can take off the filter because I'm just showing stills. I want you guys to see the color. The true to life color of these beautiful drawings, which Tariq Nasheed personally commissioned from deviant artists to emasculate his entire race for the enjoyment of retards such as myself. Okay, zoom out. There we go. Okay, now this one's like lined up. So they've already got that buck down there, and his booty is a twisting. He does not want to be broken. But Chuck is up there and he's pointing down. He's pointing down to let the viewer know that he's about to be broken. Oddly, there's no penis. You can clearly see that man does not have a penis, unless he's like zipping his underwear or some shit. And for some reason, the women are pushing up another buck to be broken on the pier. 1805. Oh, here this is good, much better coloring. This guy is like whipping his buck. His buck is chained down, but this guy, he's like on all fours. I guess he's chained in such a way where it would be unnatural for him. I guess you could spread out. I think he could do a better job spreading out and trying to protect himself. This is like a submissive pose. He's like showing Chuck that he's actually already broken and he does not need to be broken anymore. So he's showing his submission here. This one. For some reason, he's making his horse watch. That's kind of mean. The horse looks angry. The horse looks like he's thinking, like, "Am I next? I don't want to be broken." You know, they call horses bucks too. He doesn't want to get fucked in the ass. Another one, 3. That one, okay, this is another one where they demonstrate that they make the whole family watch. So this guy's getting chained to like a post or something and actively broke. I think this is the only one that contains like actual penetration. The rest kind of like imply that it's going to happen. But this one actually kind of shows it with convenient censorship that the buck is being broken actively. He's like, yeah, he's like pointing your necks. This one, oh my god, this is like a gang breaking. This is like a massive. They need 3. This is like a strong guy. This shows the strongness of the black male, and that they need 3. The reunion of Chuck, Sneed, and Zed back to break the buck. 22 and 38. Oh yeah, there we go. This one's like about to start. He's realizing that he's about to be broken. He's like surrounded by them though. If I was gonna, I would not do it in front of like 8 different people. I probably shouldn't say that. I would never rape. Rape is wrong. But if I was a plantation owner in the 1900s and I had to break a buck, I would not do it in this situation. This is like a defenseless position for this man. Okay. It's a power move. Oh, that's the story of how that guy's not a rapist. And this one is not buck breaking, but for whatever reason, it's the best picture. It's so nice. It's got such nice colors, and it's not violent. It's just for pregnant women. Maybe they were pregnant, by choice. This is like a planned thing. You don't know. There's no violence here. None of them look particularly angry. Though if they're that pregnant, they probably shouldn't be working in the field. That's not bad. That's not good for you to be working if you're that pregnant. I bet you this is like the best artist of the bunch too. So I bet you Tariq contacted like a real artist and was like, "Hey, I'm making this documentary about gay anal rape. I was hoping you could draw some white on black domination rape porn for me." And she was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." And he's like, "Well, I want to show the struggle of black people in slavery. What about like pregnant slaves?" And she was like, "Okay, I guess I can do that if you pay me a lot of money." And this was the end result of that negotiation. And that's also the end of the porn, I'm pretty sure. Oh wait, this one sucks. This one, there's nothing happening. This one's like a MS Paint drawing from like Nigeria or something. And he's just like, "Yeah, I have a gun to protect me from all these pregnant women. I might get mobbed by these pregnant women like zombies if I don't have this firearm." And he's all dainty and shit and looking after them. It looks like he's hiding from them. Okay, that's enough of the buck breaking.